I've always known about Xavier Herbert, and I've been reading his books, obviously. I think he's got something really important to say about Australia, about the northern part of Australia, that I knew not that much about. And it's a journey of discovery for me too. So making the documentary is the best way in which I can begin to understand what this country's really about.
So it's not just about Xavier Herbert. It's you're exploring Australia in a way.
Absolutely, it's a vehicle for me to try and understand what really matters in this country, because I think he has something really powerful still to say about us.
What do you think that he had to say that other writers didn't? What made him different?
I think he had a lot to say about people on the margins of our society, seeing things from their point of view that other writers haven't been able to do, and that is one of the things. And he did it in a very dramatic and humorous way, but he got to the meat of the issues, that we need to still remember that there are people who miss out, who don't have a say in our society, who don't own anything, who are on the margins. So I think that's why, and I'm, being a social worker, I guess I'm interested in that perspective on things. And I teach at Swinburne University in Melbourne to a whole range of people who are working on the edges, on the margins, in social housing, in those sorts of areas. And he was a passionate man, and he really cared about this country and its people, and that's why I find his passion, and the people I've met as I've gone around Australia are just as passionate people, Aboriginal, non-Aboriginal, are passionate people, and that's why they enjoy his literature.
And yet he was not a patriot. He detested patriotism. He detested nationalism. What do you think his vision of Australia was?
Well, I'm still discovering it. I'm still trying to pin it down, and I don't by any means believe I have yet. I think he really was searching for the spiritual. That's an overused word, but when you're like I was last night, laying down, staring up at the stars in the middle of Central Australia. I mean, how many people come here and know they have a spiritual experience? This is what this place is about, the Red Centre. And you look up there and you do know, it's an experience you won't get anywhere else in Australia. And you're seeing stars and comets, and I couldn't sleep. I was up half the night just looking up at the stars, and to me that's what I love about this part of the world.
And maybe it's what Xavier loved about it too.
I think so, and the beauty, the quietness, the calmness of it all. I think he came here after his writing. He'd exhausted his writing in the north, and was looking for that sense of calm so that he could reflect on his life and see things again. But he still saw drama here. He still had drama, and it's interesting that you mentioned that I thought he was finishing Me and My Shadow, but he actually was working on a new novel based in Alice Springs. So now I'm going to go back and find that. I'll look that novel up and see what the quality of that work is. I mean, it's there in the Friar Library, so it just hasn't been published, and we need to find. I know he was very passionate because I interviewed Speedy McGuinness, and Speedy went up and saw him every weekend and brought him meals out there at Ross River Station, and he was almost 3/4 finished, according to Speedy. And I thought it was Me and My Shadow, which was more of a biographical novel, but this is actually a novel on Alice Springs, so it's quite an interesting thing. I think it's worth following up. It's not mentioned in his biography by Francis de Crone, so it'll be interesting to see what that's like. I mean, it could be nothing. It could be, but it might be some real potential.
was a great storyteller, and for me it was always a tragedy that he didn't finish Billy Goat Hill, because a great novel about Central Australia would have been a thing to behold by Xavier Herbert. But why do you think that he's become, in some ways, or seems to become unfashionable? I gather that you can't. None of his books are in print, for example.
Yeah. Well, Capricornia is still you can still buy that down in shops in Melbourne and Sydney. You know, there's been a new edition of that, but all the others aren't, and that's a real tragedy. I think it's like what we said before. I think Laurie Hernigan said writers come and go, classics come and go, and people rediscover them over time. I think that will happen with Xavier Herbert, that he'll be rediscovered. He's a great, like you said, any title, he loved the title storyteller. He was a stirrer, but also a storyteller. And storytelling was the one, he was a master storyteller. So that seems to have been, that skill, the skill of telling a great story isn't appreciated as much.
No.
And we only have it in campfires now.
Yeah.
You know, and as you said, it was wonderful just to be with him and hear his stories. He was a great storyteller. It's a lost art. So that's something I hope people will rediscover through the documentary.
And speaking of stories, are you getting good stories about Xavier as the film unrolls?
I am. I'm getting terrific anecdotal stories from all sorts of people. I've just come from the Finnis River people, the paperbark people, the McGuinness family. I've interviewed them extensively, and I'm going to Perth to interview another member of the family who's very elderly, who knew Xavier intimately. These people, all in their memories are intact, their long-term memories. And it's great to be able to record them before they go forever.
Is there a picture of him, or even perhaps an anecdote that reveals
what's
him?
Coming through from up to now is his passion for particular things about Australia, his passion for areas of Australia, his deep connection to Aboriginal people. They have names for him. He was, they describe these people as like a wise elder, and also a friend of theirs. One who is with them on the journey. That's that notion of, they include people like Xavier in that struggle that they're on. They're constantly on about the struggle for justice, for fairness and that sort of thing. So Xavier was one of those people that they included.